Every trader has heard this sentence. Price goes up because there are more buyers than sellers. It sounds obvious. It even sounds scientific. The strange part? It's impossible. And once you understand why, you'll never read a candlestick the same way again. Today, I'm going to show you how price really moves, not through fairy tales, through supply, demand, order books, and Wyckoff logic. By the end, you won't look at a chart as random candles anymore. You'll see a war between aggressive and passive money. Keep this idea in mind. It becomes important in 2 minutes. Let's fix the biggest misconception first. People say price went up today because there were more buyers than sellers. Sounds logical, right? But here's the problem. On any exchange, for every trade, there is one buyer and one seller. The quantity bought equals the quantity sold. Always. So there cannot literally be more buyers than sellers in executed trades. What actually changes is this. Who is more aggressive? Who is more patient? Who hits the other side's orders? Price moves not because a magical extra buyer appeared, but because one side is attacking, and the resting liquidity on the other side can't absorb the incoming orders anymore. This isn't just theory. Misunderstanding, this is exactly why retail traders keep buying highs and selling lows. To really see supply and demand, you need to understand 2 types of orders. Imagine you want to buy Bitcoin at exactly $100,000. Do you wait, or do you buy instantly? Those 2 choices create 2 completely different kinds of orders. 1. Limit orders. Patient orders. I want to buy at this price or better. I want to sell at this price or better. These orders just sit there waiting. They build the order book. 2. Market orders. Impatient orders. Fill me now, I don't care. Just hit whatever is there. Here's the key idea. Limit orders are the real supply and demand. Limit buy equals resting demand. Limit sell equals resting supply. Market orders move price. They cross the spread, consume limit orders, and push price up or down. So in Wyckoff language, supply and demand live in the limit orders. Price movement comes from market orders hitting that supply and demand. We'll come back to that. Let's walk through what actually happens when price moves. Price moves up when market buy orders hit and consume the sell limit orders at the ask. If buyers keep attacking, they eat through all sellers at that price. The next available sellers are higher. So price ticks up. And if you have short sellers with stop losses just above a level, when price tags those stops, they turn into market buy orders too. That's how you get short squeezes. Forced buying on top of real buying. Price moves down when market sell orders hit and consume buy limit orders at the bid. Once those bids are gone, the next buyers are lower, so price drops. Long traders' stop losses turn into market sells, creating liquidation cascades. So the summary is simple. Market buys lifting the offers equals up moves. Market sells hitting the bids equals down moves, not more buyers than sellers. Just more aggressive buyers versus more aggressive sellers. Watch what happens to the retail trader who doesn't understand this. He sees a green candle. He buys the breakout with a market order. He's impatient. He's paying the spread. He's consuming liquidity. Meanwhile, the smart money placed limit sell orders hours ago at that exact level. Patient. Resting supply. The retail trader's market buy hits their limit sell. Price stalls. Then reverses. The retail trader stops out with a market sell. His panic becomes someone else's profit. The market didn't change. His understanding of who he was trading against did. Now here's a question that breaks most traders. Imagine nobody bought Apple today. Would price stay frozen? No, because price doesn't need new buyers. It only needs sellers willing to accept lower prices. Price isn't pulled upward by buyers. It's pushed upward by disappearing sellers. Remember that sentence. It's the entire game in 6 words. Price doesn't only move because one side is strong. Sometimes it moves violently because the other side disappears. Imagine a supermarket. Today, water is $1 a bottle. Tomorrow, most suppliers vanish and shelves are almost empty. You don't need a huge rush of demand for price to go up. A few buyers are enough because there's no supply. Markets behave the same way. If sellers pull their limit sell orders, the ask side becomes thin. Even small market buys can push price way up. If buyers pull their bids, the bid side becomes thin. Modest selling can cause big drops. This is called a liquidity gap. Price jumps not because everyone is crazy bullish or bearish, But because there's no one on the other side, Wyckoff would call these no supply or no demand conditions. Crucial in understanding where trends can extend or reverse. Now let's bring in Wyckoff's secret weapon. The relationship between volume and price. Think of it like this. Volume equals effort, price movement equals result. You don't need to know who is buying or selling. You just compare effort versus result. Imagine three completely different candles. First candle, high volume, small price movement. Huge effort, tiny result. One side is attacking, but the other side is absorbing. Example. Massive buying at resistance, but price barely breaks and closes weak. Strong sellers hidden at supply. Second candle, high volume, large movement, huge effort, huge result. Dominant side is winning. Either a powerful breakout or a pure climax near the end of a move. Context decides if it's continuation or exhaustion. Third candle, low volume, big move. Small effort, big result. The other side has vanished. That's your liquidity gap in action. Trend continuation or a manipulated move in a thin market. So every candle, every bar, you ask, given this effort in volume, is the result in price strong, weak, or suspicious? That's Wyckoff's reading of the battle. This is exactly why Wyckoff matters. All these micro-mechanics, limit orders, market orders, liquidity, volume, they fit into Wyckoff's big picture. But instead of listing phases like a textbook, let me tell you a story. Imagine a billionaire wants to buy $500 million worth of stock. He can't do it in one click. The market would explode, so he buys quietly. Small pieces, patient limit orders, absorbing supply without anyone noticing. That's accumulation. Eventually, the sellers dry up. Supply disappears. Price starts climbing. That's markup. Now, everyone on YouTube calls it the next big opportunity. The news is glowing. Retail piles in with market orders. Impatient. Aggressive. Guess who's selling to them? The same billionaire who started buying months ago. He's unloading his position into the euphoria. That's distribution. And when he's done, supply floods the market. Rallies get weaker. Up bars have low volume. Then price falls again. That's markdown. The traders who survived 2008 and March 2020 had one thing in common. They weren't the smartest. They were the smallest. Position sizing is the edge that separates survivors from casualties. But that's not the only edge. Reading effort versus result is how you know if you're in accumulation or distribution. It's how you know if that breakout is real or a trap. Your job as a trader is not to predict the future perfectly. Your job is to read who is accumulating, who is distributing, whether the market is in a phase of absorbing or dumping. Let's wrap this up with a quick checklist you can use every time you open a chart. Next time you look at price. 1. Forget more buyers than sellers. Instead, ask who is more aggressive right now. 2. Think in orders. Limit orders equal resting supply and demand. Market orders equal actual price movers. 3. Watch liquidity. Thin order book, small orders, big moves. Deep book, big orders, smaller moves. 4. Read effort versus result. Volume big, move small equals absorption. Someone strong on the other side. Volume big, move big equals dominance or climax. Volume small, move big equals no opposition, liquidity gap. 5. Place yourself in the Wyckoff cycle. Are you in accumulation, markup, distribution, or markdown? Are you trading with smart money or providing exit liquidity for them? Once you start thinking this way, you'll stop chasing every green candle. Instead, you'll see where big players are absorbing, where retail is trapped, and where the real opportunity is. Maybe that $5,000 you lost last month wasn't stolen. Maybe it was the most expensive lesson you'll ever buy. The only thing worse than paying tuition is refusing to learn. The market doesn't care how intelligent you are. It doesn't know your account balance. It doesn't know how much you've already lost. It only rewards traders who understand one thing: how orders become price. Learn that, and you'll stop reacting to candles. You'll start reading the battle behind them.